After much anticipation, James Wiseman finally makes his debut for the Detroit Pistons in the 127-109 loss to the Celtics. Should we be impressed? Should we not be impressed? We'll talk all about it right here at the DSN News Desk.
Never fall back. We will stay right where we at.
What's good, Detroit Sports Nation? I am Eric Vincent, your host here at the DSN News Desk. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate your time and support because we finally got to take a look at what James Wiseman, the brand new Detroit Piston, looks like with this roster. We finally got to take a peek at it after much anticipation, after much speculation that the trade might not even go through with the four-way team trade. We finally got to see him on the floor for the Pistons, and it was very interesting to see. Now, I don't want to overanalyze. I want to be fair to him. Even though I was very critical about the trade coming together, I want to be fair and give James Wiseman some time to adapt and show what he's capable of. I don't want to grill him out the gate and, be unfair. I want to give him the proper time to develop and show what he can do. So, from what we saw today in the 127-109 loss to the Celtics, Wiseman looks like he could be a fit. Now, we didn't really get to see him at the full stretch that we were looking at in two different ways. One, he only played 23 minutes. And based on how he was moving on the floor, it's pretty clear that the Pistons are trying to get his conditioning up. He didn't play a ton with Golden State. And even when he didn't really get a whole lot of minutes logged where he could show that he could be an intricate piece down important stretches of a game. So we're not going to see that right away. And the second way is we didn't see him starting at all. Dwayne Casey and Troy Weaver spoke very highly of the opportunity and the ability to start Wiseman in the front court, to have size, to compete with teams like Cleveland. And unfortunately, we didn't really get to see him next to Jalen Duren or in the starting lineup. But from what we saw in the brief 23 minutes, I was pretty pleased with what I saw from him. I'll give him his credit for how he played. 11 points off the bench, 5 rebounds, moved pretty good defensively from what we expected. From what we know about his game, he does have some versatility offensively that he really didn't get a whole lot of opportunity to show in Golden State. He has the ability to face up. He's a very good lob threat. He's very good at setting picks, which is a big problem for the Pistons because whenever they run their pick and roll offenses, it seems like outside of Jalen Duren, a lot of the bigs and screeners on that team don't make a whole lot of contact to get guards open looks, at least not on a consistent basis. So that's something that they're going to look for him to do. And ironically, if you watched him tonight, and I don't know if this is fair or unfair, but this is the immediate thought that I'm looking at while watching his game. Wiseman moves and plays like a current Piston and a previous Piston in the past. This is my opinion. If you agree with me or you don't agree with me, I'd love to hear it. Let me just see what you think. But to me, he looks like a cross between Marvin Bagley and Greg Monroe. He kind of moved the same way as Moose did, getting up and down the floor, moving and showing his footwork in the post and, whenever he had the ball in the paint, he really showed to be reminiscent of Moose. And then with the lob threat ability like Marvin Bagley, that's where they show their similarity. So he's kind of a cross between those two. Now, I think he has a higher upside with his athleticism and the ability to play with guys like Cade Cunningham, and next to Jalen Duren is going to help him. So in this premise right here, we're only going to see a little peek of what he's capable of. And for right now, I liked what I saw. I mean, he was really good. He had a face-up shot where he took a jumper and he made it. Had a couple touches around the hoop. The guards weren't really getting him a whole lot of lob touches. Well, they didn't really get him any at all. There really wasn't much opportunity. It looked like, honestly, a lot of the players were there aghast. There was a lot of one-on-one basketball that was being played. The guards didn't really have their best game. Killing at 10 points, but didn't really shoot well at all. 3 of 11 from the field. Did get 9 assists. Jaden Ivey kind of looking kind of sloppy a little bit tonight. Did score 17 points, but had some really out of control turnovers. And again, it didn't really look like they were trying to get the bigs involved. And something that the Pistons don't really focus on doing which I really hope they do when they use these two bigs, is using and emphasizing a post-up block presence. Because all they do right now is run pick and roll basketball. Everything they do is operating from the outside in. If you have two bigs, and if you play with Cade Cunningham, you're going to have size all around your roster anyway. So it's important to utilize that while you have it. So if you really want to get the best of these guys, it's not going to just be in pick and roll sets. I want to see what Wiseman can do on the block. I want to see what Jalen Duren can do on the block. If you want these guys that are super young, they're kind of raw in their development, but if you want them to get better, they need to get more touches and reps outside of just pick and roll basketball to set up the guards for jump shots. I want to see them get more active. I want to see them become a bit more of a focal point of this offense. I can't just watch Bogey go back and forth playing ISO basketball. And even though he played well tonight, 28 points, 12 and 17, but if he's playing like that, that means, obviously, without Cade, it doesn't really mean anything. But the point is, he should not be your primary focal point scorer. Bogey is a great secondary scorer. And if you're not using the other pieces that you have, including the two bigs, you're doing something wrong. So I hope that's something that Dwayne Casey tries to implement moving forward. And maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. Again, I want to be patient with it. I don't want to jump out the window and be too critical of James Wiseman. I'm going to give him some time, and I think we all should do the same. I think we all have kind of tempered our expectations at this point. I was very, very critical and worried at the start when I heard about this trade. Knowing what they did in terms of moving Sadiq, who I think has the highest ceiling of the people that was drafted with him to the Pistons. Out of him, Killian, Beef Stew, I thought Sadiq had the highest ceiling of all three of them. So to move him for Wiseman, something big has to be returned. Because again, I asked this last time, how patient are you going to be with a project type player that you say has longevity capabilities within your lineup, and you didn't draft him though? So given his injury history, given the way that you have to mesh him into this lineup, how patient are they going to be with James Wiseman? I want to see how that turns out, and I want to see what it looks like. Again, there's not a whole lot of time. It looks like this team really needs the All-Star break, so hopefully they can be able to recharge and get some rest to get ready to close out the rest of the season. But for right now, a lot of eyes are going to be pointed to James Wiseman. I liked what I saw today. Hopefully he can get a little bit more active defensively. We saw him move well in pick and roll sets. We saw him give some rim protection, close out with some good rebounding. It wasn't going to be a pretty game playing against one of the best teams in the whole NBA with the Boston Celtics. But from what was asked of him in just 23 minutes of action, I got to give him a passing grade. I give him his credit for tonight, and I think he played pretty well. Really optimistic about what they could look like with Jalen Duren. Hopefully it matches up to our expectations. Talk to me in the comment section. I'd love to hear your feedback. What did you think about the debut of James Wiseman with the Detroit Pistons? Were you pleased? Were you a little underwhelmed? Tell me what your thoughts were. I'd love to hear your feedback. Make sure you like the video as well and subscribe to the channel. If you're new to the channel, we're getting closer on making our way to 6,000 subscribers. Help us make that happen with your love and support. We would greatly appreciate it. Make sure you're tapping in on our social media as well. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all of the above. Search and follow Detroit Sports Nation and lock in with me as well at I am Eric Vincent. Thank you all so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. Go Pistons, and I'll see you right here again with another update right here from the DSN News Desk. Peace.